Okay, with Rogan Loves, the Harpies is the short film played at under 5 minute festival. It is 4.5 minutes long. It is from you're from British Columbia, right?
That is correct.
All right, so we'll talk about the lens. This is done in a 48-hour film challenge.
Yeah. So it was part of the Vancouver's 48-hour film competition run and gun.
So you guys, okay, so then you get what? Tell us people that you get props, right? Yeah, it has to be about. They give
Yeah.
you certain
So
things it has to be about.
so basically, they give you certain elements you have to incorporate in the film. So usually a prop, there's a line of dialogue, a theme, and there's one more element. I can't remember what the fourth element was. Um,
But
it'll come back to me. But there were
what
there were
was
four
the theme?
elements.
What was the theme of this challenge?
So it was what they had was the prop was a hat. The theme was alternate universes, and then we had to incorporate a line of dialogue written or spoken in another language, and then there was a line we had to include as well, which I can't remember.
So you had to have those elements in it. So
Yeah.
I like the first thing that jumps out from someone who watches a lot of films is that the cinematography is pretty great for 48 hours because
Yeah.
not only do you have to do this, but you have to do a color correction afterwards and kind of make sure that the film cinematically like not only looks good, but there's a cohesive story there, right? So I'm sure you won awards at the festival for cinematography because I haven't seen a better photographed film in 48 hours than this one.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, the film got a bunch of nominations and it won Best Cinematography and Best Art.
That makes sense. So the film starts like so the kind of like it's like a she's running away from her boyfriend. This guy who obviously has a crush on her is helping her, and but you start the film on a tilt, right? So you're kind
Yeah.
of setting the tone, I guess, of like things may not be as they seem, I guess, by starting it that way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, especially since it's such a short film, you got to communicate, I think, tone to the audience immediately. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what that shot was meant to do.
Well, good job. And where did you think the location's great? Where did you find the location?
Um, so it was a abandoned lumber mill or a derelict lumber mill in Port Moody in Vancouver. And I had scouted there before for a project I was supposed to DP that never ended up happening. But I had let the producers know about that location for that project, and I had really wanted to shoot there for a while, specifically for horror. So that was like one thing that we were able to lock in advance. Like, well, we're going to shoot here, and we're going to do horror here.
Gotcha. And so you kind of had the idea already when you before you got the props, I guess, to shoot something there.
Yeah, I mean, because you have to have a location and crew and equipment and stuff like that figured out ahead of time. It's
Yeah.
kind of weird because it's a 48-hour film competition, you're working backwards. Because like normally I would take the script and then
Yeah.
based on the script, I'd figure out location, style of shooting, cast, crew, like
Yeah.
everything. But here you don't have a script yet, so it's like, okay, well, we'll get a rough idea that we're going to do horror, so at least we have a ballpark that we can write within and plan for.
Mhm.
And I mean, we had a bunch of different kind of really rough ideas that we didn't know what we were going to end up using based on what the elements would be. But again, the one thing we committed to was that we would do horror at that location.
So I guess you have four actors in the film, and so they were all kind of already on board before the challenge started. That they were already part of the crew. You knew they were
Yeah,
going to be. Yeah. Okay.
which said a lot for them as well because they didn't get a script until the morning of the shoot. So
Yeah.
they have to learn their lines on the day and like kind of figure out the characters without all the prep time that they normally get.
So you okay? So you get the. I remember I did this like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So we got it at 8 o'clock. The props at 8 o'clock. We wrote the script through the night, and then we started shooting during the day. And then at the end of the day, you have like 24 hours to edit the film. I guess that's how we did it.
Yeah. So, I mean, because we wanted to maximize our time, and we knew we
Yeah,
were reaching for something of higher quality than you would normally get in a 48-hour competition.
yeah,
So what we did was, yeah, we wrote the night before. Like I think the competition started at like 7 p.m. on the Friday, and then so we wrote through the night. I got a
yeah.
couple hours of sleep, drove to set, and then we shot for like I think we shot for like 13 hours. And then, but while we were shooting, basically every time we would finish a scene, so we had the editor on site. So every time we'd finish a scene, we'd give the media to the editor so he could start a rough cut of the scene that we'd finished. So by the time we were done shooting, there was already a rough cut of 80% of the film, so we could more or less go straight into editing the project. And on top of that, the editor, as soon as he would get a rough cut of a scene, he would send just a reference cut, of each scene to the composer, the sound mixer and slash designer, and the colorist, so they could, they can't go via timeline, obviously, but at least they can get an idea of the general soundscape that they need to build, or direction to go with color. And then I was also having phone calls with them throughout the day whenever we were not in the middle of shooting something.
Oh wow. Yeah. So you had it all like figured out, I guess, along the way. Did you change before you started? Like, it's one of those interesting things where like usually it's a 40-hour film and it's you go to that festival and you do okay, but then you decided to like submit to festivals like ours and like, did you think you had something? Is that what motivated you to submit to like more regular festivals afterwards?
Well, I think that like we always had the mindset of like the goal is to make something that can have a life outside of this competition,
Yeah,
because I mean just because it takes so much time and effort, and and people to make something, right?
yeah,
For it to have a life that is as short of as one competition just seems a shame.
yeah,
So we always were trying to make something bigger, than just that. But definitely, like once we started going, and once we saw the first cut, we were confident that we would at least be able to get into some horror film festivals. Like
yeah.
we were very happy with what we had made.
Did you change like after the 48-hour challenge? Did you go back and kind of retinker the film a little bit before sending it to our like festivals like ours?
No, it's the same cut.
Oh, really?
It's a Yeah. We didn't change anything. We talked about it. We thought about it because I did think that there was probably. I mean, the thing of the film is like 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes with credits.
Mm,
Um, and I did think that there was probably another version of the film that had more room to breathe. That was maybe like a 6-minute film or 7-minute
yeah,
film, even, just to sit in some shots for longer. But then we figured that if we did that, we would lose, I guess, the badge of this was made in 48 hours, and the film was good enough as is, made in 48 hours. So we just wanted to keep it that way.
that's great. And like I said, you're a cinematographer.
Yeah, I work as a cinematographer as well.
So you directed it, and I'm assuming you shot the film as well.
No, I didn't shoot the film. My I think that's too many hats to wear.
Yeah,
Honestly, I mean, I was still very involved in cinematography for the
yeah.
film, and like shot choice, lens choice, things like that, because that is my primary wheelhouse. But David Nguyen shot the film, who gaffs for me a lot of the time when I DP, and he's a very
Oh,
talented
cool.
cinematographer in his own right. So
So you guys have a comfortable relationship. You got to know each other pretty well.
yeah, so this was the second film I directed, and he's DP'd this project and the previous project.
Great. So you're going to keep directing more films?
Yeah, so long as the opportunities keep coming, of definitely.
Yeah. No, because there's something here, right? So okay, so let's talk about the script itself. So you and I guess Haley Jacobson,
Hallie.
Hallie
Yeah.
Jacobson wrote it together.
Yes.
So that was already the plan, I guess. So you guys were going to start writing like as soon as you got the props, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And where did you meet her?
So I didn't know her before this project. I never
Oh,
met her
great.
before, never worked with her before, but One of my producing partners, Stephen Hugh, he knew her, and I didn't want to write by myself for Run and Gun just because it just seemed like too too much weight on your shoulders
Yeah.
to come up with a whole script by yourself in just a couple hours and it be good. Um,
Yeah.
so I wanted a collaborator that we could, attack it together. And I know that so I had a couple meetings with her and we just kind of spitballed a couple ideas of things that we could potentially do. Again, not knowing what the props were, and we got along really well, and we were on a very similar wavelength, and yeah, so we had a really great time writing it together. It was very painless, very collaborative, and we're working on another short film right now
Oh,
she wrote that she has asked me to direct, so we're in the kind of development process of that right now.
that's so great. It's like that's part of like why these little projects are fun because you get to meet new people and collaborate. But you're very smart, and in terms of like you just talked about two back-to-back stories about how you didn't want to be overwhelmed. You brought in it's all about the key collaborator, right? But you brought a key collaborator to help you with the writing, kind of bounce things off, right? And then a key, obviously, the person your gaffer to be your DP, which is amazing in itself. So basically, you seem like you have a pretty good ego where you know your limitations and you know how to make the best story, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like just to tag on to that, I don't feel like it's the director's job to do everyone's job. It's the director's job to make sure that everyone's making the same movie.
Of course, that's I love that. That should be on a T-shirt right there. No, because
Yeah,
it's so true, right? Because listen, I've been on like huge sets, like multi-million dollar sets, and
yeah.
not everybody's working on the same movie.
No,
and,
no,
and
it's really frustrating sometimes.
and it's so true, right? It just will make the film better if everybody. But it's also trust. It's also believing in the director as well, right?
Yeah,
Because it's like kind of like it's like a chain of command. It really is, right? And it's like if they trust you, then they'll do their jobs. That's
yeah.
simple
I
as that.
mean, like there needs to be a clear vision that everyone believes
Yes.
in, but
Yeah.
at the same time, the director needs to trust that these key creatives can enhance and bring something of their own to
Yeah.
that vision. Because also, if everyone's just a meat puppet, then no
Yeah.
one's invested and no one cares.
Exactly. But then within the guidelines of the story that's being told, right? They can
Yeah,
bring that down.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. I love that. And like I said, this like I like the use of. Did you guys have a good makeup person? Because there's lots of sweat and that's hard to do in within a day as well, right? Did you have some who did all the
Yeah.
other? Yeah.
So we had a special effects makeup person, like
Yeah.
someone to do kind of prosthetics. Um, who she works for, I can't remember the name of the company, but she works for Todd Masters makeup effects in Vancouver. And he's a my other producer Jordan would be able to
Yeah.
tell you more about it. He's super into horror. He's a really big horror nerd. Anyway, I just know that I know Todd Masters has done a lot of big and interesting horror films, and and prosthetics. And so anyway, so she works at his company, has learned from him, and she was willing to donate her time and talents to help us with this project.
That's great. So you had a great team. So how is the industry like? Are you based in like Vancouver area or?
Yeah, I'm based in Vancouver. I live in Vancouver. I grew up in Vancouver. I worked in the film industry in Vancouver for 10
Okay.
years. Um,
So
yeah.
how is the industry there?
I mean, I think everywhere is obviously slower since the strikes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know that there is work in Vancouver. Like I work fairly consistently, but I also have seen lots of people disappear over the last few years because, I mean, I think globally we had a reduction in content being made of like 40%, something like that. And that means that 40% of your workforce has to disappear for your industry to stabilize, right?
Mhm.
So I would say it's it's busier here than it is in a lot of other places, but it's way more competitive than it was when I started working here in film. Like I was really lucky when I started working in film here. It was crazy busy. It was like the streaming boom,
Yeah.
and like there was so much work for everybody.
And now it's like, but are you still working like as a DP, like on side projects and stuff?
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, like in indie world, like independent project stuff like that. I worked a lot as a DP. I work as a director.
Yeah.
Um, I, I on like union shows, like like big features, TV shows, stuff like that. I primarily work as a first AC. I'm a union first AC.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
So that's your like you work for IATSE or like the union or
yeah. I'm in IADSI.
gotcha, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you're always like the phone just has to ring, right? And then you get a gig, I guess.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you have to find your own work.
Yeah,
I mean, if you like, you have to hustle a little bit.
yeah,
If you just sit and wait for the phone to ring, then it might not ring.
yeah.
So you do have to create. You have to create your own opportunities. But yeah,
But it's
I
correct me if
don't.
I'm wrong. Like how because I've been out of the industry for like well that the mainstream industry for like 20 years. They
Right.
before it was like the crews would kind of hang out together, would stick together. They would go from a show to like a movie of the week, and it would be the same kind of crews, like the same camera crew, same lighting crews. This is Toronto, I guess, too, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I think like it's. I think it's probably very similar here than it
yeah,
is in Toronto. Like yes, there's definitely like crews that stick together and go from show to show to show. But then you also have new DPs, right, that come from LA or
yeah,
Toronto that don't necessarily know anyone here. And when they come here for the first time, they have to, kind of hire a new crew, find new people.
yeah,
So, but yeah, there are definitely like groups of camera assistants and operators, gaffers, etc., that always work with the same DP, and they just go from show to show to show. But again, I would say because it's way more competitive than it used to be, like maybe that DP that they're always working with doesn't get a show immediately after that one, and so then they have to diversify and go work with
yeah,
some other people.
yeah, totally, yeah. So what do you think the future is? Think it's going to go up? Like, think the market's going to go, or they're going to be the production's going to go up a little bit, or
Um, I it it's kind of like magic, like trying to predict the future, but
yeah,
because it feels like
you can see
everyone
the
has
trends,
it.
I guess, right? But
Yeah,
yeah,
everyone has their own ideas, but I mean, I am skeptical of it ever going back to where it was during the streaming boom, because it
yeah,
doesn't seem like and I have no insider knowledge other than just like what I know from working on set, but
yeah,
it doesn't seem like there is a reason for the streaming services to overproduce the way that they were when they were trying to get their businesses started and trying to,
yeah,
wrangle in all these subscribers. I mean, they've kind of figured out from the strikes and their subscriber numbers during the strikes how much content they actually need to pump out monthly to maintain their numbers, right?
yeah,
And I don't think it's about trying to run the other guys out of business anymore. They realize, okay, the other guys aren't going away,
yeah,
so we all have to figure out how we're going to split the pie. But that means less work than there was before. And you had lots and lots of people join the film industry when it was super super busy, and now a lot of people just standing around going like, so when is it going to get busy again? And it's like, well, I don't think it's going to get to those numbers again. It's going to get busy again because more and more people will leave the industry.
yeah,
And like that's the only way I really see it stabilizing. And I mean, it's already way better than it was like 2 years ago. But again, I don't personally feel like it's because there's way more work. I feel like it's because there's less people competing for those jobs.
yeah. Well, that's sort of how the industry work, I guess, right? Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, it makes yeah, it's very fair what you just said. So yeah, and it's like yeah, and people are just staying at home more, and yeah, that's just, it's just a we live like post COVID, dare I say, it's a different mentality now. People have different perspectives, and there's so much content on now. I was just talking to a professor at Cal University, and she was talking about her students were like watching binge watching like old like 80s and 90s TV shows, right? because it's on their streaming service, right? So these are like 30-year-old shows, like Friends, or like even I think one she was saying that they get into these binge watching, and it's like they're not really watching new content because there's so much content on there's like I don't know how you are, but I'm 50. Like I had no like when I was growing up, like I couldn't. It was like you go to the video store and like you get one video and it'd be like so exciting, right? Now
Yeah.
it's like people can watch who are 20 years old can watch anything, right? So you know what
Yeah.
I'm trying to say. So like the content is more profound. So you know the idea of new content is not needed as much as it used to, I guess, right? So
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing, like to be devil's advocate or to take the other
sure,
side,
yeah,
would just be the the benefit of new content is, the water cooler conversation, or where you want to
yeah,
be up to date with what is, current pop culture, like what's the new show that everyone is talking about. And if you want to be involved in those
yeah.
discussions, or you don't want to, it's like the fear of missing out, like you want to
There's
be part
always
of
that,
that.
right? Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and so I think that would be the one thing that makes, someone watch the new show over the show that came out 20 years ago that's, lauded with awards,
yeah.
right? Like there's like that should be the show you're watching in theory, because the show is already finished. You don't have to wait for the next season. You don't have to wait to find out if that show gets canceled or not.
Yeah.
But it's not the new thing. And sometimes, and there is something to be said about people want the shiny new toy, right?
Yeah, there's always going to be that. Like you see that in the movies, right? Where like we see that when a movie comes out. Remember like Barbie and in Oppenheimer? Like everybody had to see that summer,
Yeah.
right? Or like White Lotus, everybody's got to see that show, right? And if you don't, you go back and you kind of catch up, right? Like yeah, you're 100% right. There's always good. There's like that's always going to be the human culture, right? Like being like always have to catch up. Funny thing is, I'm learning is that reality shows are plunging, right? The ratings of reality TV is plunging. It's like it's
Yeah.
going down. Nobody's watching that. But political, like news shows are like going raising. It seems that seems to be the new thing. Where like you got to be on the radar for it, right? So the
Yeah.
new
I mean, that's also just a reflection of just like there's so much going on in the world right now
yeah,
that, you know, when things are when things are good, or when the status quo is maintained, people don't feel as strong a need to stay informed,
yeah.
right? Whereas now it's like, okay, what the heck happened today? Like,
But it's almost like they're making that a show, though. Like they're saying,
mhm,
like
mm,
we want you. You have to be informed.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting, right? So, but anyways, I just think this is like what you did in 48 hours. I'm impressed, right? Because like I said, I see so many short films. So where I sit is like I was kind of like, okay, they must have like redid something, but I believe you. I don't think you did, and you're on to something. So I love to see what you do next. I love to see you like have a real schedule, like you know what I mean, real post production, real like color correction. Like I'm not saying it's not real, but not rushed, I guess, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love to see what you do next because you definitely know how to tell a story like through visuals. So I love even a little like the lighting aspects of it, like the just really nicely done, like all around.
Thank you.
So keep making movies. That's basically what I'm saying.
I will, and we will. Like, I have no intention of stopping. So
Yeah. So you're gonna keep. But is your dream like if you would you want to like have like a TV like a feature film or a TV series? Like what would be your ultimate goal?
I mean, I wouldn't. I'm definitely more, I think, into features, but I wouldn't close any doors in the sense that, like, if you like TV shows now, like these 8 episode kind of mini series are the same quality of storytelling as a feature, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. So you're like, yeah, just keep, I guess, keep plugging away, and sometimes that's sometimes like even during COVID, it was like when people didn't work, they got to do their own projects, right? So that's almost like the positive side of like when the industry is like when you're not working enough, you can do your own stuff, right? So
Yeah.
right, so because you can get because people don't know you're on these sets. It's like you're on 15 sometimes 15 hours a day, right? And then you're doing 5 days a week, and the weekends you're like the last thing you want to do is like do your own project because you're tired, you're burned out, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I still think it's personally, I think it's worth it though to do those bigger shows just to learn,
100%.
so that when you make your own stuff, it's that much better.
100%. All right, man. Well, your wealth of knowledge, you're very talented. So I can't wait to see what you do next. And let's talk again when you make your next film.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.